guys. Welcome back to the Professional Opinion Show, episode 8. Lots of new stuff going on, man. Ready to hear about it, man. So what's been up in your world?
Dude, I would have to pull out my iPad to all the stuff and things. A lot going on. A lot. It's funny, dude. It said, you know how people always talk about negative and positive stress. I don't know. I feel like the lines are blurred right now. I'm somewhere in between, you know, so I just accepted a new position. I'm now the head strength and conditioning coach at D1 training in Niceville, Florida. So they always just say D1 and where it's at. So I'm D1 Niceville. It was funny because it just kind of happened, man. You know how it sounds corny and cheesy or whatever, but you know, I don't want to say I wasn't like towards something, right? Yeah. But I had a goal, which was to make it to head strength and conditioning, dude, right? That title alone is like, that's what all the strength coaches chase in the fitness industry, as it were. But I wasn't handcuffed to any direction, if that makes sense, right? Initially, I thought I wanted to do actual D1, like college, right? And I thought like that age group appealed to me, that setting appealed to me. I'm from Alabama, so we're addicted to college football. Like, you know, we don't have any professional, you know. So
I think it kind of aligns well with too, like coming out of your background in the kind of spec ops community, like high testosterone, team. Get after it. Yeah, that team concept. I think it sounded like all along, you know, I thought that would be, you know, a smooth transition over, but I think you found that's a whole world in of its own, right?
Well, yeah. What I found out is it's heavy into politics. I am anything but politically correct. So and it was funny, man. One of my good mentors, shout out to Coach Koob, John Kubiak. He told me, dude, he was like, I asked him about it, right? He came from Ohio State and ended up in... yeah. And ended up in, dude, and he from y'all, he was up there at the Ram when they first went to the first, like, look at the college football playoffs. Like,
oh, yeah.
Remember that? It's
I
when
remember
we
that
first met.
college
You were at
football.
my house, and shut up. We don't need to relive this. I think we already even talked about it once. But so during that era, right? And so when I met him, he actually handed to me, dude, the Ohio State strength and conditioning program for that season. Like I had it. All in, yeah, dude, the whole workout program for the lifts, the calisthenics work, all the stuff they were doing, the speed training. And then when the gym burnt down at Eglin, it went up in flames with it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So not meant to be there. But anyways, he had told me, like, he's like, look, dude, I can tell you what college is going to be like, but you being a military guy, especially, you know, if you get in a good program, like one of the big alumni, you know, he's like, you're gone all the time. You're in there at 4, you're home at 10. Like, it's long out, crap pay. Like, you got to work your way up the podium. Only the main guy is the one really stroking a paycheck. And you got to deal with all the politics with that, with NCAA rules and all that, which I couldn't even, that was back then. Now you got NIL and all this money contracts and, you know, so, but being the awesome dude that he was like, man, go for it. Don't take my advice. Like, that's just my perspective. Like, Get your own opinion, you know? And so 2 things happened. Straight up just weaseled my way into the University of Alabama's gym. Not going to say how, but I got myself in there and just walked around like I owned it and ended up in the coach's room talking to some guys. Not Sabins. That would have been dope. I probably would have been escorted off in handcuffs.
Right.
But ended up in the strength coach's office and talked to some cats. And you know how you can feel it, you know? Yeah. Not that these weren't stand-up dudes. It was also very much like the impression that I got, rather, was because I told him straight up, like, hey, man, I'm coming into this game like way late. Y'all were probably graduate assistants coming straight out of college, probably own the team, you know, could take a lower paycheck, no kids, whatever. I'm coming in 40 years old. I need a W-2. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
And so if anybody missed that, I'm talking about a tax form. But and I asked them, like, hey, man, what's the chances? You know, I roll up and the attitude was very much like, whoa, like, you think you just come straight to here? You
so look for security. Like, how'd you get in?
Exactly, dude. Yeah. And it's like, you don't, so you just skip D3, D2. You just jump straight up in here, huh? No sports experience whatsoever. I mean, they even said, right, like just based off just my stature, right, that obviously like I do fitness. I understand functional training, that whole game, but they're like, bro, we got speed coaches. We got quarterback coaches. We got like, this is technical. This is not like we're just doing squats, bench, and deadlifts. Like there's way more going on here. And like you have no experience on your resume that you understand any of that, you know? And so like whose cousin are you that you think like you're just gonna up in here, you know, into a D1 big time program and discuss pay? I mean, you know what I mean? It was very much like, it was a huge eye opener on many different levels. Also, before I took this D1 gig, I learned something else new that I didn't, it should have registered to me way back in the day, but I was just trying to fill out the environment itself, not really get into the weeds, you know, just kind of check the temperature. And as I came out of the government sector, as thousands and thousands of people are doing right now, I decided like I need to stop like limiting my aperture, right? And I need to allow, you know, doors to open and not scoff at anything and just gain experience. And very quickly, once I started reaching out, I realized that, you know, not everybody shares the same opinion, right? And there were a bunch of people that looked at my resume that were like, no, dude, like your schooling and your certifications say that you understand the science and stuff, but don't sell short your background, because your background says the most important thing, which is you understand team and you understand how to lead men, you know, or men, women, whatever. Right. But you understand how to lead. And dude, as part of multiple things in my gig, and you know this, we all have to go through it, but I have also a wealth of instructor time, like, and that translates very well, right? Because I've seen a lot of cats out there, man, that like they can pick up plus pounds, they can squat 500 plus pounds, but being able to convey how and motivate others, they fall, yeah, dude, and while they're good athletes themselves, not so much good instructors, right? It's just like going back a couple of episodes on here, you know, every person with a kid's not a parent, right? So every dude with chesticles is not a strength coach, you know? So I had a college reach out to me. I just keep it unnamed, but I had a college reach out to me that would have been dope, right? Like would have been super cool. We'd have been way closer to you guys. My wife was like cross fingers praying that this would work. And we found out something we didn't know about college that again should have. For a public college, that's the state. They're state employees, meaning they are state funded. So every position is capped by the state, right? It's not, you got all these accolades and things we want, so we're going to up. Nope, it has decided.
Like another flavor of government. Like you get correct. What your little title says. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, that position and the state funding does not currently match the housing market in that area. So I had to walk away from that, because as much as I love getting in the locker room with the boys and getting everybody motivated, I can't come back to a cardboard box and keep my family motivated. So I had to pass on that. But it showed me that, like, hey, man, I'm selling myself short. I actually, after that conversation, dude, I actually text one of my neighbors over here he wants to run down this same path that I'm running down. He's a 7th Group Special Forces dude, 18 Delta medic type, Green Beret. Awesome cat, dude, like super in shape. He's out every morning with his ruck and dog walking. But he wants to play this same game that I'm doing when he separates. And I texted him, man, I was driving home from work. Had just got off the phone with this athletic director and found out all the details, and was like, hey, man, thank you, but, you know, no thank you. And he completely understood, right? In fact, hey, big tip to everyone out there, right? Like, never burn a bridge you might have to cross again one day. So, and I made sure he understood that, like, I want this. It is just economically impossible right now. I have a kid going into high school, one in Appalachian State. Like, for me, it doesn't work. And we tried to twist some numbers and we couldn't make it work. But I made sure he understood that like, this in no way reflects my desire to work with you, to be part of your program. And hopefully I can get myself in a better position a couple of years down the road and we can revisit this. And then maybe I've set myself up where I can take a little cut to get on this team I want to, right? Mm-hmm. Or hopefully they've gone up in the program and, who knows.
Yeah, or that dude gets hired somewhere else and remembers you. I mean,
100%, right? Yes. And so we had a really good conversation. It's just another person in the social network. So I text my buddy though, my neighbor, and I was like, hey man, when you get home today, like hit me up. I'd like to come over and just chat with you for a minute. And we did, man. We went over and we even had a couple of non-alcoholic IPAs because it's like Wednesday. And I sat down and just tried to express to him that I've found out that like, hey man, like our time is valuable. Like our experience is valuable and what we've learned, like is valuable. It might not directly translate to what it is that we're looking at. It matters. And I told him, humility is a really good thing, right? But there's a difference between being humble and selling yourself short, And I'd realized that because I came in very humble and I had no idea I had no problem in the beginning climbing up the ladder, right. Getting into the position and then showing them that like, hey, told you. Like I do this, right? And I told him, I was like, you know what, dude, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm fixing to put myself out there, and when someone calls back, I'm gonna let them know, like, hey, dude, you just hit the lottery. Dude, way to make this phone call because I'm about to reshape your whole program, right? And word of mouth, right? I hear about this gig, and honestly, dude, what was hilarious is I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to because I knew where talking about the D1 thing that just happened, right? I reach out to the franchise owner, right? D1's got like 100 something locations. They were corporate for a while. They had like 32 corporate stores, and then they went to the franchise market in 2018 and started tossing them out. Founded by William Bartholomew, awesome dude. Played at the way that he came about this. He played at the University of Tennessee. Boo. With Peyton Manning, right? During that era. Went to the NFL, to Denver Broncos, had a knee injury, came back out, decided, like me, dude, coming in the military, want to stay in that like-minded realm, right? And so he created this D1 because him and Peyton were already buddies. Peyton came on board with the company, and then they bought in Tim Tebow later and CP3. And so they got some really good backing. Yeah, dude, I should meet Timmy 2026 at the D1 Summit that they do.
Really?
So I'm amped about that. He doesn't know it, but I'm going to lay out my gym plan I laid out to you. And we're going to redefine the community center. But so I knew all this, like the backing. I did my homework research, but I know what they offer. If anyone out there is familiar with Exos, it's that same kind of thing. It's a performance center. It's for athletes. This is not like I want to look good on the beach.
Not right? Planet Fitness.
Right. And so I drove by where this place is supposed to be, right? And I was like, this is false advertisement. Like, this is way too small. This location there's no way it facilitates the room that you need to do this type of training and lay out this whole floor of turf and everything else. But one of my clients knew the owner, the franchise guy, and was like, hey, I reached out to such and such, and so he's expecting your call. And I'm like, God. I'm like, oh no, dude, like, why? Right? Like, and in my head, I'm super blessed that it kind of went down that way now. And so out of professionalism, right, you got to make the call.
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to. Like,
right.
you have to, whether you want it or not, you're committed, right? And you gotta keep the reputation well. So I made the call. We start chatting. I didn't even realize on the phone conversation, we talked for about an hour. The whole, like, how I got into it, certification, degrees, experience, all that, right? And we go to get off the phone, and he's like, hey, man, like, I really like what you're putting out, like, you want to meet in person sometime later this week, and we can tour the facility. And I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, Yeah, absolutely. Because if it's what I think it is, that's when I'm going to just turn, shake your hand, say thanks, no thanks. Like, because in all, you know this better than anybody, dude. In all, like for your 9 to 5 is, or, your money make. It's not what you know is nearly as important as who you know. And that social networking game, dude, and building your reputation, like it's a big deal. Oh, yeah. And I don't want to sign up for anything that could turn on my hard work, or, right. But while it's D1, this big time corporation, well, it ain't going to be locally D1 that like messed up my kid or had this false like thing. It will be Coach Cotton at D1,
Right. Yeah.
And so I had some serious concerns with that. And we showed up on site, and when we walked through the doors, this place used to be an escape room. It's changed. It's one of those, like it's in a shopping center, and you always have that one business that just keeps turning into something else. Yeah. And at some point it becomes like a Mexican restaurant and hangs out. And so it had been an escape room the last time, and I'd walked in there before, and me 5'7", 170, could go and get on my tiptoes and hit the ceiling. Well, bro, when you're talking about performance training, there's ballistic movements where you're throwing things up. You know what I mean? Like you better have some space. And we walked in, dude, and just the wow factor from what it looks like outside, and then you come in Willy Wonka's play factory, and you're like, I was like, oh my God, dude, if someone just is curious and happens to physically come through this door, they're signing up, just because you cannot believe what's on the other side of the glass. Like it's crazy, dude. Next time you're down here, we'll go, and you'll. It's just off of that, dude. When I went through in my head, it's like first time you're dating a girl, you're trying not to let any untold signs in. And so I kept it all in, but as soon as I went in through there in my head, I'm like, oh boy, man. Yes. I could have fun up in here, And so we chatted for what I thought was going to be, and probably what he thought was going to be like maybe an hour, turned into like 2.5. And I mean, we covered all the bases, talked about everything, and we get up to walk away. And unbeknownst to me, did I say that right? That's how you say that, right? Thank you. Nailed it in the median. This whole time I was under an impression we're just talking about a coaching position, dude, which ironically enough had been advertised for the same amount of money I turned the collegiate position down for. So the whole time in my head, I'm thinking like, well, even though it's local, so I don't have to worry about housing market or move or whatever. I don't know that I won't. I just felt like I needed to graduate to this new thing, to convince myself, right, that I'm moving in the right direction. And we start to walk off, and I don't even remember what I said, but I alluded to like, just as a coach, and he's like, dude, I can tell you, like, you're my guy. Like, you're definitely like, he's like, if I have a head coach like you, finding other talent to come in here and help coach, I feel like it's going to be like way easy. And dude, it had to like marinate for a second. And I was like, and I turned back around, and oddly enough, dude, I just like let it go, right? And I was like, all right, well, hey, man, like you got my number. Ball's in your court. Like, you just let me know, like, next steps, anything, I need to do, And we didn't even talk money, right? And that's a funny story for another time. I thought that conversation set with corporate, that determination. I'm not going to get into it now because I don't have time, but I made another phone call to this dude after running 10 miles across the bridge, super amped up and excited about what was going on. And I literally was just calling him to inform him. So they call it key leader positions at D1, right? And that's obviously your franchise owner, your GM, and your head coach. And anyone that's in a key leadership position has to also interview with corporate before you get signed on, right? Because they want to make sure, everyone at the top is who they say they are and a valuable member. And so I'm getting amped up for this. I'm just getting amped up for this corporate interview, right? And I call this dude coming back across the Mid-Bay Bridge, and I unload all this excitement on this dude, and how, like, in a nutshell, dude, I literally told him, and I believe this to be true, right? That some men and women's greatest detriment to themselves, right, is not realizing when the target has presented itself and it's time for them to take a shot, right? I think way too often people don't realize that like the world's just been put in front of you and all you got to do is reach out and grab it, but you have to move aggressively. Right. And I felt like for whatever reason, like this was it for me. You know, this was my time to like put my best foot forward and swing for the fence, so to speak, you know, and I'd been my own cheerleader for the past hour running over this bridge, dude, just hyping myself up. And like I called my little brother at one point on my watch, you know, out of breath, trying to carry on a conversation. And I just told him, I was like, you know, I felt like since I'd retired from the military that all my demons had kind of like just gone to sleep and got lackadaisical and complacent, and that this whole opportunity had woken them back up. And I was fixing to call these people, and kind of like when we went in old girl's office and I'm Ranger Panty Sweat, like just let loose, dude. And just to remain professional before I went full on crazy, right? I called old boy I felt like I needed to let him know that I'm about to take myself off the leash, you know, on corporate world, right? And that's when I realized like, oh, he's the one that decides. Because then he finally brought it into conversation, right? And he's like, yeah, no, that's with me, dude, you know? And it was funny because he had a very common sense, practical way of thinking about it, dude. At somewhere along the lines of like, you know why Apple products don't go on sale? Because they work, you know? And right. it's you get what you pay for kind of thing, you know, basically let me know like, hey, I'm going to take care of you the best, you know, per what budget allows, blah, 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 blah. Super cool. And also kind of embarrassing because I didn't realize like, you know, I felt bad because I literally was just I wasn't trying to pump him up for cash. I was trying to let him know like, I'm going to scare this dude on the Zoom call. Yeah. Just be prepared to hear about it, you know. So I called, made the phone call, talked to the dude. All the stuff and things were correct. He called back, told boss man like, hey, kid's wild, but he's like, this is what you need, right? Yeah. We signed the contract, and it's funny, I'm part-time right now because the building doesn't even exist, right? It exists, it's just not built. Right. We're still doing all the stuff and thing. The doors hopefully open 4 weeks from today. Oh, wow. Soft open. Yeah. So soft open for everybody that's already signed up, and then hard opening in May. And brother, there's a reason they put that word head in front of strength and conditioning. I had not totally understood the weight of the title. And dude, I've been, it's, you know, it's that whole thing, man. You're just drinking to the fire hose right now, which is cool because I've done so many. I feel like almost all minus the government gig, and that to some extent because there were programs I put in place there that didn't exist before I got there. But I feel like all my ventures in the fitness industry have been like startup programs, right? So this is no different, while it's just more dense, you know, because it's this corporate thing and there's this expectation already of what should happen and what it should look like. So just trying to make sure not only meet the standard, but of course, you know, you want to set yourself apart and we want to exit it a little bit. And again, I'm in small town USA, so a lot of people are coming because they know me. I'll have quite a few clients that are transitioning from other places. I already had people that I was coaching at Eglin that have signed up. The doors aren't even open. I think we're at 130 people, dude.
Dang, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what does that feel like? I know it sounds like you're, I mean, kind of an overwhelmed stage, like unknown unknowns, like what does this look like? But dude, how does it feel to, because I feel like when I was talking to you about it, I feel like you're home now. You know, I finally have something that like, I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Correct. So yes and no, right? So like I said at the beginning of this, right? You know, they talk a lot about, you know, your negative stress and positive stress. And dude, I literally last night, man, and this is like, let me get you straight look into my life. My wife is currently upset at my son's level of participation on the tennis team. He goes to practice. He does everything he's supposed to do. He plays, but he is the best. He's on line 2, right? If you're unfamiliar with tennis, at least for middle school, I'm only speaking with the little bitty microscope I have. There's 5 lines, right? With your first line, obviously, like the best dude on the team. My son somehow, without practicing at all over the summer and before, like doing anything but tennis, still managed to make it to line 2. So he's in a prominent position on the team, right? It's important. He didn't even want to play tennis this year, right? He wanted to take up boxing, dude. He only played 1 year before this, but he is naturally athletic. Right. And he picks up on things very quickly with coordination and technical ability, which is rare. Unfortunately, he does not have near the Napoleon complex that I do, that, you can turn to motivation quickly. So that like drive and desire for the W isn't as high as mine and my wife's. Right. If we're having too much fun, we can get pretty heated on a card game. And he's just not that dude, man. He's just not that dude. He's laid back, and he, as a matter of fact, he even had told me at one point this season that just started, like, coaches were getting that's probably not the best term, but they were getting their feelings hurt about some things, right? And he got in the car and I was like, hey, what's going on out there, dude? And he's like, oh, they're just all, spun up because me and his friend like playing around, during practice, like cutting up jokes. He's like still hitting the ball, still doing the thing, not like missing dumb shots, but like talking trash. Right. Which to me, I mean, why play sports if you're not gonna, like, you got to mix it up, dude. That's psychological warfare. And but they're like, hey, get serious, and he says something like, it's not profound, it's reality. And he's like, I mean, isn't this middle school tennis? Like, Nike's not out here. You know what I mean? And he's like, I mean, shouldn't this be something like we're having fun and just moving, staying, in shape or whatever? And I'm like, you gotta figure out how to sell that to your mom, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're not wrong, but I mean, I don't know what to tell you. People spend a lot of money on this sport, and I think that's where the clash is, because we directly see, especially like I train at the tennis center, dude. Wife, operations manager at the tennis center. We see like, bro, people dump thousands into this and hours upon hours, and you got this dude. This is what people don't understand about sports, period, dude, and how freaky deaky it is to make it to any 3-letter organization. The reality of it is like, there's this conversation of hard work versus talent. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So here's the truth, and no one wants to say this and like, hurt people's feelings. To get to the league, NBA, NFL, MLB, the league, not whatever, like, to get to the league is, dude, Johnny Bones Jones is always going to be Johnny Bones Jones based off his DNA, right? It just so happens that not only is he genetically gifted, talented striker, like has these good reflexes, but he's a hard worker. Right. That's what separates people, dude. That's how you become a pro, is like you got both. Right. And then because someone's here, the comments are going to rain from the heavens, dude. It's going to talk about how you can just grind and like you'll get it, right? I've heard people debate this before, and they like to bring up Michael Jordan because, in college he was told like he should probably pick a different sport. What they didn't say, he should probably just focus on his studies. They said he should probably just pick a different sport because, make no mistake, he was still genetically gifted and talented as an athlete. He was still coordinated. He was still 6 foot, whatever, however many pounds, right?
Still jump from the free throw line.
Exactly. So all he did was hone in on the technical aspect of it and the skill, right? Mm-hmm. That's where he pointed his hard work. But it wasn't like he just worked hard and the best basketball player in the world or whatever, right? No, he was still genetically gifted in all that, right? And so he all his hard work and dedication is how he became like the marquee dude, like this household name that what he did in athletics is like absurd, period. Right? It paved the way for this. All these boys signing these NIL contracts and stuff coming out of high school. Dude, Jordan did that. He was one of the first to like start that branding and marketing of athletes, I was
going to say, I mean, obviously like Jordan was incredible on the court, but he was the face of a new era of basketball. No one spent 100%. Dollars on advertising. No one, and then it was like, we went from, dudes smoking in the locker room, drinking beer afterwards to like, oh, let's take the shit serious. Let's invest in commercials. Yeah. Let's put Michael's face everywhere. So, and then he took it from there and like was amazing on the court. It's like how many other dudes before that, without millions of people watching the game or whatever,
dude,
That,
but anyways, all that to say that, like, to bring it back, right? So like my wife's upset because my son just, just that drive's not there. The natural instinct, whatever, this coordination, innate athletic behavior, he's just been surviving off that, right? And she wants to foster this drive, but she forgets, like, they made this drug deal with each other, right? And the drug deal was he wanted to box. We took him to boxing. He lasted 2 days, and he came to us and told us that he literally was not in good enough shape to do it because he's fallen asleep in class, right? Which, I mean, hey, dude, what a
right.
Way to be checked in. Yeah, way to be checked in. And so we are the people that, like, you're going to do something. You're going to be in some organization, right? Because like we've talked about before, dude, boredom is the devil. And so he agreed, like, he's going to play tennis again, finish out his middle school time, and then he's going to box all summer and channel his inner Tyson, hopefully not bite anybody. And we'll see where we can, like, where that goes, right?
Yeah.
I'm down for whatever. I just want him to have something, an outlet. And something that fosters discipline and commitment, And so last night she's just going off about, like, why don't he? Because they did like a scrimmage, and dude, he got waxed. Like, because he's going against the second best at every other school, right? And it shows, right? These second best at other, they're at these camps and paying this extra cash, and they're trying to go to college on that rate,
Sure.
And he's just trying to get the boxing. So she's talking to me about it last night, dude, and I'm laying in bed, and all I can think is, like, bro, when am I going to get access to these programs? Because I need to test them out and work them out myself so it doesn't look like the first time when it's the first time. And like, there's all these people, and like, my mind's just racing with all these things I need to accomplish, get smart on, programs I need to learn like the back of my hand, things I need to download, how many companies that I already have Zoom calls with to better understand their product and the science behind it. And like, the last thing that can even get between my ears is, as my son so eloquently put it, is like, isn't this just middle school tennis? Like, like in my brain, dude, I'm like, this is way down on the priority list right now, dude. Like, I still have clients that I'm still seeing currently, and I'm trying to wedge that into, when am I going to completely cut that off? Because there's no way I can juggle both. This is a key leadership role and deserves the full focus and attention. And when am I going to pull that string? What's the right time? And like, so to answer your question, dude, I'm somewhere in between driving really fast, the car just pulled out in front of me, and am I going to swerve or brake?
That's a great analogy.
That's where I feel like I'm at mentally. It's all moving so quick, and at the same time, I'm not second guessing anything. I got 15 minutes. This is where my life is, dude. That's where I got 15 minutes. But I'm not second guessing, and I would never, like, I'm not entirely, all of this stress is wanted. I want all of it, dude. I want it to pile up on my shoulders, and I actually feel like I've had psychiatrists tell me, like, I work better under the gun. It helps me focus. And again, just like this conversation last night, which I would say the hardest thing is trying to keep that peace, because like, I do need to task prioritize, and that's not up there right now. Right. But I have to find the strategic way to convey, you know what I mean? Like, hey, there's a damn shark in the frying pan right now. You want me to worry about this guppy? Like,
Yeah, no, but I feel like, I mean, any high achiever, you're going to feel that, but it feels, and I was the same way, but when you're in a place where you're super confident with, where you are, and you still have stress, like anything's going to come with stress, but like the stress you have now.
You're right. You've done this. What did
I mean, on a different scale.
What'd you do? No, but it's the same. Right? It's just like everybody thinks their problems are new. Same problems, dude. It's always been. It just looks different. Help me. How did you not task prioritize? How'd you keep your family is focused on like where you're at and what we're driving towards. Because make no mistake, dude, like follow me, camera. Let me do the thing. Do the thing. There we go. Follow me, camera. Follow me. Oh, wrong way. Like this one back here. You see all those little medals and stuff? That's Kim, not me. That's my wife's crap, not mine. But you don't get those on your own. You know what I mean? It takes a village. And like for me, dude, it's like I didn't get to this position on my own. And I'm trying to figure out like how do I keep people focused and like, hey, like we did this. And now it's time. But like what, right? Because you don't want to write anything off, because everything in perspective is it's important. But like, how'd you manage the house and you trying to take that next step in your profession?
Yeah, I mean, I think just being able to like ask yourself that question, means a lot. Like that's where your mind is. So many people just get, it's like the new drug, this new cool thing. Let me just go 100% down that path, which obviously you realize like you can't do that. I think somebody put like the analogy of like, everything in life is like, it's a juggling act. You're constantly like keeping balls in the air, but certain balls are made of different material, and like your family ball is made of glass. So it's like whatever you do, like that ball, you cannot drop that ball. But other balls, like whatever, like it's probably going to bounce back up. You can catch it again. So I think like
that's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean that kind of helped me like, okay, like wake up a little bit. Like there's more to just this really cool thing that I want to do. It's like, how do I do that and be the person, like show up how I want to show up at home? And and for me it's like it's almost like different. It's almost like carving the day out in different like lenses. But it has to be like a bought in, like you have to talk as a family, like, all right, at this time and this time, like I'm heads down, like 100%. I don't care what comes in, this is what I'm focused on. But at a certain time in the evening, like, and it's so hard, you have to be able to like turn that switch off and be like, okay, like now I'm dad, set the phone over here. Like, what do you guys want to do? Try to be present and be all in on them. But when that switch goes back the other way, it's like go back all in on the other things. I think for you I think you'll eventually, things will even out and start to normalize once you're just in like this wave of uncertainty right now. So you're like, this is tenfold trying to figure this out. Honestly, for me, I don't know if there's a better way other than just like kind of putting the things down, like what's important, like what's the most important, and like the things at the bottom of the list, like unfortunately, and you're a nice guy, I'm a nice guy, you want to make people happy, but unfortunately, you almost have to learn this new muscle of just saying like, sorry, bro, like I can't, like I just flat out can't. I used to be able to like squeeze in and make something happen.
Yes.
And now it's like, but unfortunately, like you almost have to learn this new muscle of just saying like, sorry, bro, like I can't, like I just flat out can't. I used to be able to like squeeze in and make something happen.
Yes.
And now it's like,
I've learned in this very short, fast week, for me, I have to have tangibles. Meaning, like, usually, dude, I can just run with everything throughout the day. All up here, task prioritized, I got to put it down now. I have to open up my calendar app. I have to plug it in. I have to, like you just said, I have to physically carve out time. And just being able to not have to dig through the memory bank, and being able to just come here with it and go, okay, that's done. This is next. That brought my stress way down immediately. And this was 100%. The first, I almost never, there's an app that we use at the club for when I have lessons and stuff scheduled. I almost never look at it. I know who my 7 o'clock is, my 8 o'clock, It's still the same. There's been slight changes, but it's still the same people, same things, right? Dude, it was getting to me. And so this, at the beginning, last weekend, I went ahead and before the week started, because the week before it was such a blur, I was like, I don't even know, not even what's coming. I don't know what I accomplished already. You know what I mean? And so, 100%. Dude, I put it down, physically put it down on the calendar, and I got my iPad with me at all times now, and scribbling notes when something on the fly comes down. So now at the end of the day, I look back at that calendar to jog my memory of what has already been done and taken care of, put to bed. And now I look at that iPad and I'm plotting next week. I've gotten way more studious at, like, where I used to just hold it all up here and run with it. Not anymore, bro.
That don't work when you get
Nah.
But think about this, like every shop you've ever ran, like every business that, successful business, and you're about to find out, or you probably already realized, every franchise has these dialed in systems of how everything happens. And
Yes.
like that works. You can't rely on just your brain's, memory. So you almost have to build a system for how you, like, for everything in your life now. So like when people call me and ask me for this, how do I handle that? When I do need something I need to do, here's our system. We put it in this calendar. Like we have a family shared calendar. Like when I see things pop up on it, and if I need to be somewhere and I need Barb to like take over the kids, like it pops up on the family calendar. And so, I mean, whatever it is, you guys have to just establish, like, here's our system of how our family operates.
Right.
And it's like for so long you can, especially when you're in the military, it's like you don't need that, because like when they say Uncle Sam told me I have to be somewhere. Regimented. Yeah. Like I'm going, and you have to just figure it out. But now it's like, now you got stuff too, and like you have to squeeze that in.
There's choices. Exactly.
There's
actual choices. Yeah. No, you need it, dude.
Yeah. But in the interest of wrapping up, I know you got a hard stop. One last thing before we do cool story, because if you're anything like me, you wake up before you go to bed, thousands of things start to go. When you wake up in the middle of the night to take a pee, you try to lay back down, and then they start going again. Now you're just find yourself up for. Now you're going to pull an 18-hour day, that's awesome. Dude, you almost have to
right now.
Yeah. See, for me, like whatever comes up then, like I just brain dump into for me it's like a to-do list on the, iPad notes or whatever. But whatever it is, just I don't even try to even organize, just mind dump it all. And honestly, it's so calming to just know, like, okay, like I've thought about it. I put it somewhere where like I'm not going to forget. Because normally it's like, it's a circle. Usually it's like maybe like 5 things. You go all the way around. And once you get to the bottom, it's like, oh, but that thing back at the top again. And then here you go back on the. But if you just dump it out on paper, somehow it does feel better. You're able to like relax and at least try to get back to sleep. It'll give you a better chance. It doesn't always work. But
Right.
So, but whatever that system is, you have like to get some way to get it out of your head. I know some people use like an actual notepad. I'm, just a tech guy, so use the notes app.
Tech guy too, dude. But I like the Apple Pencil. There's something about it slows down my thinking. Right? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I can't. The actually writing does not allow me to go 1,000 miles an hour. And that's what I have to, because dude, I live there. That's just me. That's just who I am. And so when I pull the pencil out and I start to organize my thoughts, make them tangible, right? Like it forces me to slow down. And then what's so relieving is I'll find as I'm writing, like, you know what? Eraser, this is not right now, right? This really is not, like, it's a thing, but it's a detail. It's not a main muscle movement. It's just like after the thing's actually working, you know what I mean? Then I can come back and make it pretty. Does that, you know? So the pencil helps me a lot, dude, because it literally, like, it slows me down and I start to see what's actual problems, or not even problems, important taskers, and what's like me thinking 5 years in the future, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, then it sounds like you have a good process for that. I mean, for me, I tried to live in my head for too long, and it's just like, so.
I did it for a week, dude, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, dude, I just collected like 50 new grays. This is, I gotta figure something out fast. Like, this is crazy.
Oh, man. Well, in the interest of wrapping, unless you have a quick, cool story, I'll dive in with one.
Go for it.
Okay. This is, I think, not even like a super cool story, but I think this conversation, if you do find yourself in that position, or if you can get yourself in that position where you are doing something that you're passionate about, and you can have these kinds of problems, they are a lot better problems to have than you're working for somebody else and they give you this laundry list of things that keep you up at night, or like you said, it's different kinds of stress. I promise, like, this stress is much more enjoyable.
Yes. This is way better than I got drunk again and got caught behind the steering wheel.
They're sad. But I mean, for most people that live in corporate drives your priorities, and like that job you just had. Like, I'm sure they had lots of stuff for you to keep up with too, but it's like, manage that. Like, it's a privilege to manage these kinds of problems. And so I guess the whole point of this, like, don't give up on your daydream. Like, figure out what you want to do. Figure out what that path to get there is, and like, I promise, like, once you have this system established, I mean, you're still in chaos land. for me, that's the new status symbol, I think, is just having this place of enjoyment of what you do every day, things that you love to be able to pour your energy into, versus clocking, putting your time card in, having it punched, and then watching the clock all day, dealing with other people's priorities and stuff. So if you love what you do already, hey, good job. But a lot of people don't, and they feel stuck, and there are lots of things you can do to kind of put yourself on the right path to have these kind of problems, get to a higher level of enjoyment in life. YOLO, right?
Yeah. Well, and you said this, dude, and I think there is truth into it. I think it's hard. It's hard to see sometimes in the moment, but you've said this, I think, a couple of times on here, and there it's a fact, right? Like, don't get fixated at the end goal. Like, enjoy the journey, you know. And as like you said, in the chaos I'm living in right now, I'm making new relationships, meeting new people, you know, like, so I'm trying not to miss that, you know. Shout out to Trent, team builder. I know I'm gonna see him again, because I already have 30 more questions, and he said I could call whenever, so I'm going to do that. But yeah.
Shout out Trent. But yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot less kind of, if you look back on your days, like for me, there was like periods of suck, or like, dang, man, I got to go do this for an hour. I got to hop on this hour-long status call. Like, if you can remove like giant time blocks of suck out of your day, I mean, you might be busy. People like us are never going to be content with it unless you're busy or have like all these things you can pour your energy in. But it's things when you get up in the morning, you're excited about it, versus like, what am I doing? Yeah, I found levels of happiness meter just off the charts. I'm happy for you, sir. Man. I know it's stressful now, but
hey, man, I'm happy to be here, proud to serve, dude.
Right on, brother. Well, we'll let you get to it. Any final thoughts before we wrap?
No, man. Thank you for your wisdom and friendship, dude. And I'm gonna be leaning on you hard in the next few weeks.
Let's go. All right, guys. With that, we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace out.